Welcome.
Are you ready to thrive?
Of course you do. Life is all about thriving forward and just live life on your own terms. Do things your way. Hello and welcome to the Sussex Way. This is episode 7. My name's Veena V and I love helping business owners to get started on YouTube. I also love life, tea and cake and long walks in the countryside. That is me in a nutshell. Today oh my goodness me. Hopefully this episode will just open up your eyes, and I really want this episode to inspire you to actually go on and write your own book and tell your own story. Today we're going to talk about why Meghan and Harry, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, should self-publish a book, and there's no other person that's better to talk about this than the one, the only, Danni Blechner. She is a book journey mentor. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Veena. What a lovely introduction. Thank you for inviting me on this show.
Oh, thank you for taking the time to be on here. Now, before we delve in deep about exactly what is self-publishing, can Harry and Meghan even do this? Explain more. What is a book journey mentor?
Okay, so a book journey mentor is someone really who guides people through the process of publishing, and not just publishing, but looking at the whole vision of the book. What a lot of people don't realise is that it's not a case of, I'm actually making a post about this just before I got on the phone to you. You can easily, write a book or not so easily, and, upload the files onto Amazon, and, someone can have a quick read over it. So anyone can publish a book, but is it done properly and effectively? It's very much a journey. So it's about, making sure that that's edited properly, making sure that we've got the right keywords in the book, making sure that everything's done professionally, typeset professionally, the cover design's professional, looking at the whole journey of the book. So what kind of press do you want to get for your book? How are you going to get your book into retailers? How are you going to market your book? How are you going to really reach that target audience? So that's why I'm not just a book coach or a book mentor. It's a book journey mentor, because I want to impress them. Thank you.
Love it. Seriously, because again, like you said, I mean, anyone really can just put words on a Word document, upload it to Amazon. Well, so actually some people don't realize that you can do that. You can just
that's true.
write something, it can be a few pages, whatever it is, bang it up on Amazon, and people can be reading that on Kindle, or you can turn it into print books. But what I love about what you're saying and what you're doing is that it is a journey, and people I think forget that sometimes. So before we kind of go more in depth about your tips for people in terms of if they want to release their own book, and how, hopefully this has got people thinking, oh, I never thought I could do it myself. Actually explain, so what is the difference between self-publishing, where like me, I could just do something now and smack it up on Amazon? What's the difference?
Smack it up on Amazon.
What is the difference between self-publishing and then getting an actual book deal? Because a lot of people are now saying, Meghan and Harry, they could do this like tell-all book. So what is the difference between the two of them?
Oh, they so should publish a book, and they should so self-publish it, because I think lot of what they stand for is about being authentic and about standing in their own power and using their own voice and not being censored. Wow. So the difference between traditional publishing and self-publishing is traditional publishing is very much there's no cost involved, whereas obviously with self-publishing you'd need to be able to pay for the editor, the typesetter, everyone to do their part really in the process of putting a book together. So a traditional publisher you'd have to apply through an agent. So you'd have to have a query letter, applying for the agent. The agent would then be in charge of getting your book deal. So obviously the editor, the agent would take a small fee, or a large fee in some cases, of that book deal. You're then paid in advance. So you get paid up front for books that they guarantee will be sold. So they will have the control over your book in terms of how it's edited. So you very much write your book, and then you step back, and in a sense then the book is theirs. So they can market it how they want. They can do, they'll have a final say on the cover design.
So very much the vision. So you could actually write like a whole chapter in there about something personal that you want people to know, and they could literally cut out like that whole chapter from the book.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think different traditional publishing companies, will have different ways of working. So there will maybe some autonomy, maybe there are some meetings with the actual author, but very much so from people I've spoken with anyway, who've been traditionally published, they are the author. Their role is to give them the manuscript, and then they do as, as they want, in a sense. Also, they get paid royalties, whereas so that's how obviously the traditional companies get paid. What's good about it is obviously, HarperCollins, fantastic. You're going to have a lot greater coverage in terms of the people that they know and the links that they have than if you've just done it yourself on Amazon. So I think it's very important to look at the deal that you've got, really, and also think about why you're publishing a book and what your purpose is behind it. Self-publishing, again, if you publish through someone like myself, for example, you have 100% royalties. You can also self-publish through other companies, and some of these companies do take royalties. So there will be an upfront fee because you're paying for the services and the work to be done on the book. But you have very much control over your vision and how you want your book to be marketed.
And kind of going back to the traditional book route, where so many people, they don't think ever about the self-publishing option because maybe they don't know it exists, like I've mentioned before. But in terms of if someone wants and now for Meghan and Harry is very different, because I'm guessing they will have people literally doing bidding wars to do a book with them. But for the everyday person like me and you, if we've got like a book that's ready to go and we don't want to self-publish it, what do you do? Do you literally just have to go knocking on the doors, sending your I don't know, first chapter, whatever it is, to all these different companies? Like, is it like Hay House, HarperCollins, Penguin? I don't know if they still exist, but places like
They do. You're doing well.
Oh, I feel very intelligent now that I named 3 book publishers.
Yes. Full marks. I'll give you the big 5 by the end of this interview. So you want to know how they go about getting traditionally published? Yeah. So I mean, this is what I tried to do. First of all, I mean, when I first wanted to publish my book in 2013, I eventually did in 2014. I read this book called Getting Published by Harry Bingham. So the first step is you write a query letter, which is like a cover CV. Who are you? What's your book about? Why should people care? Pretty much. And then some agents ask for the first 10 pages or 3 random chapters or the first 3 chapters. So generally I was sending 3 chapters to agents. A lot of the agents, actually, what's changed is before it was very much you'll submit your manuscript or you'll submit a sample of your manuscript, you'll send your query letter, and then there'd be a meeting or a rejection. But now a lot of them are asking for marketing campaigns. So when I was sending this off, a lot of them were like, oh, this is really good, you've got a lot of talent, there's a good market for this, what's your demographic, what are your stats, so send us your social media handles, tell us about your platform. I was like, what? I'm an author, what do you mean platform and audience? So some of them want you to do now a lot of the work in terms of marketing, because it saves them a job, but they want to know that your book's going to sell, basically. So
that makes me, even though like I'm not an author and I don't release lots of books, that makes me a little bit sad that they're asking you for that, because like you just said, it's if your talent is being an author, it's quite unlikely that you're not going to be that prominent on social media, because you're not posting all the time on social media, you're actually writing your books. So that's quite surprising now. I mean, I get it, because I suppose it's less risk if you are going to them with 100,000 followers on Instagram. They probably think, oh, okay, she could actually sell a few books through her Instagram herself.
I mean, I'm sure Harry and Meghan wouldn't have any problem. They probably wouldn't have to create a marketing campaign or tell people who would buy their books.
I think at this stage, everyone, it doesn't matter what the book is about. I think everyone would literally just go and buy it. Exactly. So let's focus now on the kind of self-publishing way. So I love how you put it at the beginning, how you were like, do you know what, Harry and Meghan, they should just self-publish their own book, because they're all about being authentic. So if they were to go and self-publish their own book now, for anyone listening to this, why is that a better option in some cases?
I think it's a better option, certainly with Harry and Meghan, because they will have complete ownership over their royalties. They want to be financially independent. That's the first step.
Oh yeah, there we've got to slide that in there. We've got to
slide that in there, exactly. You know, you don't want a traditional company taking your royalties, and you let them experience freedom. Also, self-publishing gives you complete autonomy and vision over your book. So if Harry or Meghan want to change the cover or add whatever they want, or maybe obviously not use defamatory language, but to reveal something that maybe a traditional company might say, oh, that's a bit risky, they can, because they have complete autonomy and authenticity over their book. They would have no problem marketing their book. They would have no problem with sales either. So actually, I'm actually starting to want this. I think this is actually a fantastic idea.
I'm not. As you're speaking, I'm like, we need to get in touch with Harry and Meghan and tell them there's another way they can self-publish their own book. I think this is such a great option.
I think we would have to go to Canada. You're right, actually.
Let's find out where they are and just go and tell. We'll send them this podcast link, maybe.
Yeah. They don't need a traditional publisher. They really don't. They're the market. They'll market it for themselves. The book will market itself.
Very true. Okay, so what other tips and I know this is such a broad subject, so I know we're going to have to kind of like narrow it down a bit, maybe obviously towards the beginners, but when you were first getting started on your self-publishing journey, is there a kind of structure your book should have, or is it, when you're getting started, is it just about literally getting your pen and paper out or opening up your laptop and just writing, just letting it come from the heart, or do you need just some kind of plan first of what you're going to do?
It depends on the sort of book you're writing, but I always say a plan is good. So when I wrote my first book, Mr. Wrong, in 2014, I did have my chapter headings down. So I had an idea about what I was going to write. What I advise people is if they're writing their life stories especially, to have a beginning point and an end point of that slice of your story that you're going to share. It's also quite a good cathartic way of doing it as well. So draw a timeline of events, then mark out the most pivotal points in your life. So for Harry, I'm sure there's lots of pivotal moments. The day that he found out his mother had died, the walking behind the coffin, marrying Meghan, again, all of this backlash. So look at these pivotal moments. Oh, I want to write this book. These pivotal moments.
I think you should.
I think I might give it a go. Moments of your life. And try and think about, if I was to give this moment of my life a chapter heading, what would it be? So get these chapter headings written down, 12 to however many you want. But let's start with 12. So let's say 12 chapter headings. Underneath each one, write down what are the key themes, what are the key events, who's involved, what is the main message. Try and think about each chapter as its own individual book. So what do you want the reader to get if they were only to read that one chapter? So what's the main message? And then how do you want that reader to feel having read that one particular chapter? Do you want them to empathize with you? Do you want them to feel supported? Do you want them to understand the isolation that you feel as a royal at the moment? What is that feeling? Because you connect through feeling. And then once you've got that basic skeleton down, when you're writing, you don't really have an excuse to say, I don't know what I'm writing. I don't know what my next chapter's about, because you've got that, bare minimum skeleton written down, and it stops you procrastinate. It should stop you from procrastinating as well. So I'd say a basic structure.
Sorry, before you move on, I always get this. What is I've spoken to a lot of authors, and a lot of authors seem to say the same thing. They get writer's block sometimes. And I think, where does that come from? Because a lot, like, as we're talking now, I feel I could just go and write literally pages and pages. But I bet if I was to actually put my document up and stare at a blank page, I'll be like, oh, sorry, what was I going to write? I can't remember. Yes. So why is writer's block so common, and how do you actually overcome that?
You know how many cups of tea I had when I was writing my book? I did everything other than see my book. So I that's why everyone works differently. But some people writing can write 2 hours in the morning. I'm very much free. I'm like, I'll write when I want to write. Actually, thank you. So,
I'm not. Danni's not going to follow no rules.
No rules. sometimes I was like, plus I was working like 6 days a week as well, so I've got a bit of an excuse.
Oh, Danni, do you know what? That's why you're the perfect guest, because here at the Sussex Way, this is all about doing things differently. So you've just fitted into the theme of it.
There you go. I was going to say there were times where I had like 3 months where I wouldn't write the book, but actually I don't want to advise that.
Yeah, don't say that. We'll pretend you didn't say that.
No, my book took quite a while to get out, so the next one would be much quicker. So writer's block comes from if you're writing fiction. So I've written non-fiction and fiction. I found non-fiction to be a lot easier, whereas because it's information, it's things that you know. Whereas sometimes story, depending on the mood, like you've got to be in that creative space. You've got to let it flow, and if it's not flowing. There's a great book actually called The Artist's Way, written by Julia Cameron, and in there's like some really good exercises and things you can do to really get your creative mind going, just to rewire that left brain. Was it left brain that's creative? I think so.
I have no clue.
So sometimes it's hard to transition from, let's say you're a busy mum. You put the kids to bed, you've had a really long day, you've also been to work, you've had to cook dinner. To get into writing mode, like there has to be some sort of transition, because it's hard to flick from one state of mind to the other, I think. So I think meditation, clearing your mind, going for a walk, not forcing it, taking it easy, getting yourself back to that space. So finding what it is that you need to do to get yourself into that space. Because sometimes then it becomes psychological. You've forced yourself to sit at the computer. You said, right, I said I'm going to write between 8 and 10. Nothing's happening. Oh, this is the only time I've got. And you're giving yourself more stress because you're thinking about, I've got to pick the kids up in a few hours. Well, actually, I don't know who finishes school at 10 o'clock, but I've got to pick the kids up in a few hours. That's a great school. So your mind isn't in it. So it's sometimes just allowing, look, it's not working for me right now. Let me do something relaxing. And hopefully I'll be able to write a little bit later on or tomorrow. So not beating yourself up about it and telling yourself you've got writer's block. Just find yourself.
That actually leads it nicely to that whole thing you were just saying actually about the left, or I don't know what. I know what you're trying to say, because even with this whole thing, I'm sure it creates a pattern in your brain then, because if you're saying I must write at 8 o'clock, but then every time it's 8 o'clock and you sit there, you're then training your brain to think, oh, okay, do you know what? This is a bad experience of me repeating the same pattern. I'm sure there's some kind of scientific term for that. I don't know.
It's your neural pathways. You're creating messages between your neural pathways.
There we go.
The left brain, that's creative. I've just looked it up. But yeah, you're making associations and stories that between 8 and 10, I'm completely useless and redundant. And this is what I'm going to keep telling myself. And that's a story you're going to create. That's the book that you're going to write about yourself, basically.
Do you know what, we're coming up with so many actually good titles, and I'm getting really inspired by talking about this.
Yay!
Everyone needs to go and write. Okay, so again, I know this is such a big kind of topic, but from your experience with the clients you've worked with, what are the keys to successfully self-publishing a book? Is a lot of it to do with the mindset, or are they some more kind of technical things that people should be doing? And and again, in this world, is everything really about how you market the book as well?
Okay, so completing a successful book, I want to go straight to technicalities, because we all know about mindset and all of that. Let's say you finish the book, okay, because without writing the book, you can't publish it. So let's go from there. Sort it out. Think about your why. Think about your message. Focus on the audience. Distance yourself from any idea of like being criticized, or is it going to be valuable enough? Just write it. Think about that one person who's going to get something from your book. So that's what I'd say about mindset. So going to the publishing process, my biggest tip.
Sorry, Danni. I love Danni, because I'm like, right, let's really talk about getting into the mind. She's like, yeah, do you know what? Just write down your why, get over yourself, bang.
I don't mean it like that. But listen, I do a workshop called the
I like it.
We go into mindset quite a bit, but I think.
But do you know what? Everyone needs different approaches, because sometimes like everyone can be a bit more softly. It's all right. And I think there's a time and a place for that. If you're not feeling low, if you're just literally messing around, you've got the book and you're not doing anything, you actually need someone like you to be like, just stop, just what are you doing?
Come on.
Just get on. It's time to go. So we're at that place now in our mind. We're ready to go.
We're ready to go. And also, I am loving and caring, but also I'm just very worried we've got 2 minutes. So I want to just really get
we've got a few minutes.
So let's say you've written a book, you've done it, okay? Biggest piece of advice for authors is don't cut corners. I've given so many consultations to people who've published a book or self-published a book, and they've sent it to me and it's been edited poorly. It's number one, it looks unprofessional. Number two, it completely devalues your story and your message. Number three, it's going to put people off reading your book and anything else that you produce. You don't want to be associated with poor grammar and badly designed and badly written books. So that's the first thing. Don't cut corners. Invest in a good editor, not just any editor or a proofreader, a proper book editor. Really important. The second thing is think about the bigger vision. Don't think about just publishing and whacking it out there. Again, I've spoken to a lot of authors who say, I've published a book and it's on Amazon and it's not selling. And it's like, oh, why do you think it's not selling? What have you done to market the book? Oh, nothing. Well, that would be the reason. You've got to be, you've got to be passionate about what it is that you're putting out there. And again, it links back to thinking about your audience and honouring your audience and just thinking, well, how am I going to, let's go to Harry and Meghan. Perhaps there are people who have married into a family who maybe don't necessarily accept them or different backgrounds, and they want to really share that message about how they've got through it and how their love kept them together. They need to think about that one person who needs to read that book. How are they going to reach that person? So it's thinking about promoting a book, marketing a book. How are you going to get it out there? How are you going to reach that target market? Is it all about marketing? No, but it's definitely a very important part of the process, because without people knowing that your book exists and getting out there, it can easily get lost, because there's millions of books on the shelf on the market at the moment. It's how you're going to stand out, against other books that are similar to a story that you might have to share.
Oh goodness, I'm taking this. I'm literally hanging on your every word, taking it all in, thinking, right, we all need to make notes now on how to get our book out there.
But I'll do another podcast with you about mindset, and
so we don't rush over it. But no, I think even everything you've talked about today, it just gives people it just gives everyone so much to think about. And I think we should definitely get you on again in the future to talk about the process more, maybe especially around marketing. I know we've said, Meghan and Harry, they're not going to have no problem marketing it. But for other people that hopefully have been inspired by this to think, do you know what? I have a story as well, and I want to share it, because I think it's so important if you go through something to share it, because you don't know how many people that you can help around the world from sharing your story.
Exactly. It's so true.
It doesn't matter who you are. You can be like the everyday person like me and you, and that could help so many people. So thank you so much, Danni, for coming on. You have been brilliant. Where can we find out more about you?
Well, you can hop over to my website at www.consciousdreamspublishing.com. I do offer a free 30-minute consultation. So if you've been inspired by the podcast today, or if you're thinking about writing a book, or perhaps you finished and not quite sure what to do, you can book a free 30-minute consultation with me. Also on Facebook and Instagram under Conscious Dreams Publishing, and LinkedIn, Danni Blechner. But those are the main ones.
Oh, it's brilliant. Seriously, this has been a joy, Danni. You are a joy. And I wish you so much success, because I know hopefully, are you currently writing a book at the moment? What's going on with I know you help so many other people. I'm putting Danni on the spot here now, aren't I? But I need to push Danni now. Danni's helping other people. I'm going to help Danni. I know you're so busy with your clients, but What's going on in your own book?
I've got writer's block. No, it's funny. I started writing this children's book over 10 years ago, actually. Gosh, oh dear. I finished the first draft, I thought I had, and I sort of revisited it again last year. But obviously, I love the book, but there's plots and bits that I need to develop a little bit. I don't want to use the thing about I have writer's block, but I do feel I have a bit of writer's block. I think that's stop it.
We've just done this whole podcast, Danni.
No, I don't. It will be coming out at some point.
You know what? I'm not making excuses.
So many clients that we're working with at the moment. No.
Do you know what? I'm not making excuses for Danni, but I really believe in divine timing. So whatever was initially holding you back before, I think whenever you release it, that will be the right time for you and for your journey, and so
exactly. It's not the right time yet. It's a series, so I need to plan the whole series. So again, it's about doing it properly. I don't want to throw something out there when it's not ready, and I know it's not ready, so it's baking at the moment.
It's baking. I like that. Baking in the oven. Well, thank you so much to Danni. Make sure you go and check her out. And I put together a free little download for you, because this podcast is all about thriving forward. So if you want to start thriving in your life, just go to veenav.com/Sussex. So that's VENAV.com/Sussex to download your free guide, which is called... Do you think you can guess what it is, Danni?
Oh, Free Guide by Veena V.
What? No, what did you say?
I'll give you a clue.
It's called the Thrive Guide.
The Free Guide.
The Thrive Guide.
Oh, the Thrive Guide.
Oh, is that not that appealing? Shall I change the name of it, maybe?
No! It's a great title.
I don't know why I even asked Danni to guess, because it's just such a rant. Like, how would Danni know what guide it is? But anyway, so if you want the Thrive Guide, go to veenav.com/Sussex. We will see you in the next episode. And remember to become a happiness hunter. Thrive forward and do things your way. This is the Sussex Way Podcast.
Are you ready to thrive?
Be sure to join us next time.
If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review on iTunes.